Moving on to the story now, a new wave of bank scams is hitting South Africa, targeted at consumers and small businesses. The South African Banking Ombudsman says all indications point to the fact that there are new scams and an increasing number of victims. We're now joined by SA Ombudsman for Banking Services, Reana Steyn. Ms. Steyn, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to The Full View.
Good evening.
Now, this warning is enough to send consumers and small businesses alike into panic mode, especially those who've been scammed before. So what's the modus operandi of these scammers? How do they operate?
There are new scams every week, maybe every day. But a recent one that we've seen, and we just thought we should warn consumers, people are doing a lot of online shopping, so they expect parcels with COVID. And the latest scam is that people receive an email purporting to be from the post office saying that there's a parcel waiting for them. They just need to make a small payment, like 30 or 40 rand. So it's nothing too serious. They just need to make this payment and then they can collect their parcel. And then there's a website, if they click yes, and they fill in all their banking details, and they even receive an OTP. And they all think this is legitimate because remember that many people are waiting for parcels. But it's a fake site, it's a scam. But they should see it on the OTP because the message there is clearly it's for something else and it's a huge amount, but people don't read. And then they click, I accept this payment. And then, of course, that's how the fraudsters get hold of their money. So that's the one thing. And then, of course, the vishing, the phone calls where people pretend to be from the bank. They pretend they're going to help you stop fraud on your account. That is still happening every single day.
Well, most consumers, especially those who have been scammed before, they normally point to the fact of, the technological or the technical lapses on the part of the bank. So can the banks be held liable then in this particular instance?
No, and unfortunately, this is not the bank's fault because it's a scam on email that you receive. It's got nothing to do with the bank. It's somebody, like in this case, pretending to be the post office. They ask for all your banking details. You put it in, and then the message you receive clearly states that this is a transaction not for the post office for 40 rand. This is a transaction going to some company in Singapore for 50,000 rand. And then the consumer clicks, I accept this payment. So that is not a lapse in the banking system. In fact, that second OTP that they send you is a second sort of level of security. But unfortunately, if the consumer doesn't read properly and they say they accept it, that loss is a result of fraud, of you falling victim to fraud. All is not lost because you can still ask us to investigate the whole sequence of events and we will look into it. But most of these scams are purely a consumer falling victim to a fraudster's either conversation over the phone and you give them the OTPs because you think you're talking to the bank, or like this, a fake website.
So what are some of the obvious and the not so obvious red flags that consumers should focus on before engaging or embarking on any transaction?
Well, before you make any payment, you must make sure you're on a legitimate website. So you must do everything you can to ensure that this site that you are on is a legitimate site before you put in anything. So obviously, if it just arrives out of the blue on your email and it asks for banking details, you should ask questions. Then that second level of security, whether that the bank has sort of instituted, where it sends you the message either with an OTP or you must press accept. Read it very carefully. So that's something that consumers can do. And the phone calls, if you receive a phone call, people say they're from the bank. We've been saying for years now, put down the phone. Say, thank you for this. I take note that there's something happening on my account, but I'm putting down the phone. I'm phoning the fraud department. And we say to people, have the number of the fraud department on your phone so that you do not give information to a fraudster. So those deals that are too good to be true, you want to buy something for a very good price and you just pay over money to a fraudster. Again, the bank cannot be held responsible. And then you ask the bank to help you get the money back from a fraudster who they've already withdrawn it. So red flags, there are many, but unfortunately, many consumers still fall for this, and they target the elderly. The fraudsters often target elderly people, and people are also maybe in a hurry, so they don't read. So that's why we really need to warn consumers. The fraudsters are out there, and they develop a new scam literally every second day.
And again, consumers are very quick to blame the banks should they lose any amount of money, especially if there hasn't been any interaction from the bank or from a scammer out there, and they happen to lose money. So who should they blame? Who should they run to with regards to that?
Well, I think, if you've fallen victim to a scam, the first thing you must do is you must stop your account. You must alert the bank, because you may have linked accounts where there's still some money, and you've now given your details to a fraudster. So that urgent phone call to stop the accounts and to alert the bank so that they can put a hold and a block on your account, that's very important. If you have any doubt whether you were victim of a scam or whether it's your bank's negligence or fault, you can complain to our office, because that is what we investigate. We investigate, we follow the money, we follow the sequence of events, we follow the timing of the events, and we get a detailed report in order to make a finding whether the bank needs to recompensate you for any loss, or whether it is unfortunately that you just suffered the loss due to a fraud. So it is something we can still look into. It doesn't mean all is lost. So do tell the bank, stop the accounts, and if you have any doubt of what's happening here, complain so that we can investigate everything that happened.
All right, Ms. Reana Steyn, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, that was Reana Steyn. She is a South African the Ombudsman for banking services. A new wave of the bank scams has now hit South African consumers and as well as small businesses.